And welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. I promise you some phenomenal panelists, and let me tell you, we have them right here. What we're going to do here, for those of you that don't know them, we're going to let them introduce themselves. And ladies, I'm going to ask you to kind of keep it brief because we got some things to talk about. Ellen, let's start with you first.
Sure. Ellen Voie, President and CEO of the Women in Trucking Association, which is a trade professional organization of about 7,000 people in 10 countries. 15% of our members are men, and we're all here for the mission to increase the percentage of women employed in the trucking industry.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Hey, Lindsey, it's your turn. Talk to us.
Hey, I am Lindsey Trent, the president and co-founder of a new association called the Next Generation in Trucking Association, and we're really focusing on getting young people in trucking careers and getting them trained while they're in high school.
All right. It's so important on that. And last but certainly not least, Miss Amandeep, talk to us a little bit. Give us that introduction.
Hey everyone, my name's Amandeep Beesla. I am a health and safety consultant. My background, I am a third generation trucker, heavy equipment operator by trade, a huge advocate for tradeswomen and specifically women in trucking.
All right. And you know what we're talking here, Ellen, you brought it up to begin with. 15% of your membership of women in trucking are made up of men. Women involved in trucking, I think we're up to 7% of drivers, I believe, are women in our industry. Talk a little bit about that, about man, it's such a male-dominated, or definitely a male-dominated field. What can we do to get more women involved in this industry?
Well, the number you're using is the Department of Labor, which includes sales drivers. So we did our own study, and it's just under 14%. It's about 13.7% female drivers for over-the-road drivers. But there's so many things that we need to do to get more women in the industry. But the number one thing is to let women know that they can do this job. So many women look at the trucking industry and think, well, that's not for me because it's for men. And so we have to convince them that not only are they capable, but they're valued. And in fact, female drivers are safer drivers. Often they're better with the equipment, better with customers, better with paperwork, and easier to train. Often, I say often, not always. So women actually are very valued by the carriers. And that has changed over the 15 years since women in trucking existed, because in the past, they just said, well, we just want the best person. But now they're saying, wow, we see what women bring to the industry, so help us attract and retain more women as drivers.
Yeah, and we see more and more value also being placed, and you brought that up, on that safety side of our industry. When we're talking tort reform, or lack of it, I should say, all of the lawsuits that we see out there, let me tell you, there's not much more. Let me take that back. There's nothing more important in our industry than safety, especially driving the trucks. Amandeep, talk to me, third generation. When it comes to you, what do you think? I mean, what can we do from your eyes to get more women involved in our industry?
Thank you. I think it comes down to having like a good safety culture and a good organizational culture altogether. If we project that and we put that out there, that it's a safe place to come, and I'm talking about bullying, harassment, discrimination, even physical injuries as well. If you can try and make your organization as safe as possible and instill those beliefs and values, empower women, have training set up for them, have mentorship coaching programs, whatever it is to make them a better and safer individual and worker, absolutely putting that out there. And it goes from the top down. So having that from a leadership management level, and then having it come right down to the worker as well.
Yeah, and there's no doubt about it. And Lindsey, for you on this is, we can't wait until we're 35 or 40. At some point, we've got to find a way to bring the younger folks into our industry. What are ways that you're doing right now to try to tackle that struggle, right? So it's not third or fourth choice later on down the road of a career. It's career choice number one.
That is such a great point. And we have found that other industries have really focused on career technical education in middle school and high schools for so many years. So now is the time for the trucking industry to do this as a unified whole. And so we want to create these programs for young people to be able to get trained in our profession, whether it's diesel technician, CDL truck driver, supply chain manager, give them opportunities to get trained as a junior and senior in high school in our industry, and start pulling from those ages, as opposed to waiting. The average age of a new entrant is 39. And so if we can find people who are passionate about our industry, instead of going into, say, HVAC or welding, let's get them in our industry and at least get them exposed, so that if it is something that they'd want to do with their career, then it's going to be their first choice and not their third choice.
Yeah, and love that, and couldn't agree more with you than what you're saying on that. And Ellen, from your side, to get the women, and it's really anybody, but let's talk about the women involved in our industry. We're not just talking truck drivers, we're talking brokers, we're talking mechanics. What are ways that the ladies out there, the women out there, can go out and educate themselves on how to number one, maybe find this career, but when to know how to enter into this industry? How about that?
Well, a couple things. We have a new portal on our website that if you click on driver, it's basically what questions should you ask about what school to choose, what carrier, what are the different types of loads, how do I stay healthy on the road, how do I stay in touch with my family. So for a driver, we have a driver portal, but we also have what we call the Engage platform, which is for members. They can log in and they can connect with other people in their job. So if they're a technician, then they can connect with other technicians, or maybe they own a logistics company or a 3PL, or maybe they own a truck dealership, or yesterday I was talking to women who haul concrete, so they can connect with other people and learn from them. And I have to say that I would say the number one thing is to come to our conference, which is next week. And I got to give a shout out to Lindsey. Lindsey is one of our 4 finalists for the Influential Woman in Trucking Award. And so the winner will be announced at our event, and Lindsey will be on a panel sharing her wisdom as well. So, and we're expecting 1,600 people. My goal was 1,500 registered attendees, and we blew through that. So
wow.
It's going to be a great event. Yeah. And Bryce will be there. So I know BCB will have a booth there, and we look forward to catching up with you.
Yes, and for certain. And I'm going to go out there and say that, hey, Lindsey, congrats. Can't wait. We're rooting for you out there. Want you to know that. And it's, these conferences that we do, the conferences that you're doing out there, it's so important that we learn what each other does. It's making each other part of something greater. And what you do at Women in Trucking, it's phenomenal, because it's putting like-minded people together to find solutions. Right? And we've got to learn as an industry to find solutions to a problem when we're out there, no matter what we're doing on that. So kudos to you for what y'all are doing out there. Amandeep, for you, Women in Trucking, I just want to say that they're going to bring us together to talk and to meet one another. When you attend items like this, or when you go out and talk to people, what are ways that you can get those other people included into your passion, into what you're doing in the industry?
Great question. I think that speaking to our experiences and just sharing storytelling and story sharing are some powerful tools. Getting out to these conferences, workshops, seminars, and actually interacting with other women in trucking as well, getting the youth. So starting off really young, even in high schools as well. There are programs up in various high schools in Canada as well, where they actually give exposure, like Lindsey was talking to earlier, and having people actually come out and share their experiences as well. Another huge thing is having allies. So as much as we have women in trucking, we need to be supported by our male counterparts. It is a heavily male dominated industry, and with a lot of support, you can just be your better self as well.
Yeah, and and so let's just talk a little bit about some of this right here, because and Ellen, I'm going to go back to you, because when I talk to women out there, and I have 3 daughters, and I've talked to them about it, I know that they know it, but their friends, they don't believe that logistics or transportation even really exists to them. We've got to find a way, and I think even through what you do at Women in Trucking, to make them realize that there's money to be made in this industry too. We're not just talking about a stopgap. We're talking there's real money at real opportunity, and no better opportunity than what for a woman in this industry to really show themselves, because the metrics show you that how good you are. It's a metrics-driven industry.
Well, first of all, Amandeep said tell stories, and we tell stories. We have a member of the month, we have a driver of the year, we tell stories. We also have an image team that gives ride-alongs to the media and our legislators and elected officials, and they share their stories. But as Lindsey knows, we wanted to reach the next generation, and so we created a Girl Scout transportation patch, a supply chain patch. And it talks about how there's an activity book that goes with it. And it talks about how the grain goes from the field to the bakery in a truck, bakery to packaging in a truck, and so on. And that's to teach young girls about the supply chain industry and how it actually impacts them personally. And then, of course, as you know, we have our truck driver doll that we want children to play with and think, wow, maybe I could be a truck driver someday. So it's really about reaching other people where they are and saying, there are great jobs here, you can do them, but they have to see somebody who looks like them doing the job. And so that's where the doll, the patch, the stories, and the ride-alongs come in.
Yeah, Lindsey, when you're talking to to that younger group out there, I mean, there's got to be some. I mean, what are the major doubts that say the women have? You know, whether it's being a truck driver or going into our industry, what are some commonality of subjects that they bring up that you have to maybe fight against or encourage them more to say, hey, no, that's not how it is.
That's a great question. We were at the Future Farmers of America, the FFA, their national convention last week in Indianapolis. We had a booth, and there's over 65,000 students at this convention. We had a driver simulator. From the time the doors opened till they closed, we had a crowd around the driver simulator watching their friends drive, wanting to try driving, and over half of the people doing it, the students doing it, were females. And we talked to them about it. And I had a few girls say, I've thought about it, but I feel like it could be unsafe. So they were a little nervous about that. So we kind of talked to them about women in trucking and how they are doing a lot of things to help make it more safe out there and to provide them resources so that they will be prepared and feel safe. And then we also had women that were just a little scared, or I wouldn't even say, they were 16-year-old kids. They're scared to get behind the wheel. So it's a matter of getting these females over the hump so they know that they can do it. Once they do it and are confident up on the road and behind the wheel, it changes their life because they're finding something they like and they're good at, because women are safer drivers on the road. And so we need more women to feel confident and to get over that hurdle of getting out there.
Ellen, when I spoke with Dave Heller last week or the week before, and a main subject we continue to talk about is truck parking, is safety at the truck stops. Have we done enough as an industry, as a country, to make these places safe for any driver?
Well, we haven't done enough, but we've done some. We work with the truck stops on safety and security, and so we talk to them about lighting and fencing and things like that. But also we work with the truck cab manufacturers, and we've had 2 manufacturers put in panic buttons in the cab of the truck. And we don't feel they've gone far enough. We want them to put an alarm system in the truck so that when someone is sleeping, maybe at a truck stop or a customer, that if somebody tries to break in, whether you're in the truck or not, an alarm will go off. And if you don't disengage the alarm, then the police will be called, just like I have in my home. So there's more that we can be doing. And we also need to have more safe parking areas. And we totally support that as well. There's new legislation here in the United States about having safe parking. So we really do need to make sure that it's a safe environment for everyone, but especially for female drivers, because women will leave the industry if they don't feel safe. And Amandeep referenced that about safety, but it's personal safety. So it's, if the company doesn't look out for the driver's safety and provide safe parking, safe equipment, and send them to safe areas. And one other thing, the company needs to let the driver make the decision on whether they feel that operating the truck is safe. So if there's an area of protest or maybe snow or something that the driver says, well, I'm uncomfortable driving in these conditions, what is the carrier's response? Do they say, yep, you're the captain of your ship, or they say, hey, it's trucking, you need to keep going? So those things really comprise the safety part of the transportation industry, and we do need to do better.
Yes, we do. Amandeep, I don't know if you heard that or not, but I'm gonna say from a trucking perspective, the last thing we should say, and I'm gonna turn my trucking company hat on right now. The last thing we should ever tell any driver is, if you feel safe, go. Don't let it be their choice only. Sometimes you as a company, you've got the technology. We have the technology to make that decision for them that says the roads aren't safe for anybody. I will tell you when we feel the roads are, then you can let me know if you feel okay to run, because we've got to help take that pressure off a driver, that peer pressure that can happen when they get on the roadway. We want them to say, my trucking company said I'm not getting on the road, and that's why I'm not driving. Amandeep, what do you see on the safety side from companies up there? I mean, do they have that mentality, that says, that can respect that decision from the driver to not drive?
Yes, absolutely. So just a brief background or history on myself. So I grew up in a trucking family. I've been in dump trucks since diapers, and I've been around that safety culture and that just having those trucking families as well. And so I remember when I was younger, my dad used to always tell his drivers, hey, you know what? You guys need to slow down. You guys need to make sure that you're safe. If the road conditions aren't up to snuff or up to par, please either park your truck or wait, take another route, whatever it is, but safety should be paramount and it's number one top priority. And so I grew up around that, and I saw a lot of other trucking companies doing the same thing. Are we there? Looking at the present, not. There's so much more that we could be doing from a safety standpoint as well. We need to, again, empower your workforce as a trucking company. Make sure that you're not just talking the talk, that you're walking the walk as well. It's one thing to have policies and safety procedures and practices in place. It's another to actually enforce that and actually get out there and show people, show your workforce, show the public that, hey, you know what, you're engaged in your workers, that they are your number one priority, your number one asset, and that you're helping them prevent any sort of incidents, injuries, and being safe. So whatever that looks like, if you're putting in engineer controls, we were talking to having lighting and cameras and fences, looking at engineer controls, having the proper PPE, making sure that you've put every control that you possibly can to ensure that that risk and those hazards are minimized so that our drivers are out there and they're working safely.
All right. I want to thank each and every one. Hey, thank you for taking time to join BCB Live. It's important that we get this opportunity, and I want to thank you for giving us this opportunity, because it's a lot of value you bring to not only us but to other folks, to hear your story, to hear what you're doing, and to hear about our industry and what we are doing to make a challenge, to make a difference, I should say. I want to remind everybody out there, hey, go see Ellen next week. Women in Trucking, it's here. We're voting for Lindsey. If you're BCB Live, you got the stamp of approval from BCB Live. Lindsey, I want to thank you all for what you do. God bless you all. Make it happen. Make a difference today in everything you do. And thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.